Hi, this is Rob Thompson, and welcome to the Phillies Show.
Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury, Todd Zalecki. It's the Phillies Show. It's Thursday, July 3rd, 2025. Hope everybody is doing just fantastic as we enter 4th of July weekend. Guys, how are we doing?
I am
terrific.
Eager for some fireworks.
Yeah, you're a big fireworks guy. You go to Costco, buy like the 50-pound box. Just
No, I just fireworks season.
Yeah, no doubt. But I was at Costco like last week, and they do have like these 50-pound boxes, like just of fireworks. And I told my kids, I said, "All right, help me load this into the cart." And they're like, "Really?" I go, "No, we're not doing that."
So years ago, the reason why I stay away from fireworks, years ago, we're in, I think, Eugene, Oregon, and my dad was at the tail end of his career trying to get back. I think it was like 1970 or 71. He was in Triple-A with the Phillies.
Wow.
Trying to get back. And my brother and I go and play with some sparklers in this like really, really dry wheat field at summertime, and basically created a fire in the neighborhood with this kid who I guess was like a misfit, and we were kind of hanging out with him, and my mom like didn't want us to hang with him.
A miscreant.
We literally created a fire. Like it was like they had to come and like fire trucks had to come and like douse the fire. It was like a full like half city block or something. I remember running across the street. We couldn't stamp it out. We were trying to stamp it out, and we couldn't. We ran across the street and would like watched this fire like erupt across the street from us. So I don't mess with firecrackers anymore very much.
Dad?
No, it's only with like those Twizzlers. Those what are they called?
Sparklers. Yeah.
Clown show.
Those delinquent Amaro boys are no longer allowed.
I mean, I was 5 and brother was 7.
And that's where it all began. Yeah, exactly.
Terrible. My mom was beside herself.
Oh, I bet.
She was
Parents
not
would not
happy.
have been happy. Yeah, so I am also going to stay away from them. Word of advice, kids. Word of advice, parents. The Phillies won a 3-game series against the Padres. Just won that 3-game series against the Padres. They split Wednesday's doubleheader. They lost game 1. They won game 2. Cristopher Sánchez just fantastic again in game 2. He allowed 1 run in 7 innings. Sánchez this season, 7-2, 2.68 ERA, 1.76 ERA in his last 6 starts. Fitting right in with Wheeler, Suárez. Luzardo's been pretty good in his last 4, 2.78 ERA in his last 4. But Mick Abel struggled in game 1. And that's where I think we should start. It's time for the Parks first pitch. First pitch is brought to us exclusively by our partners at Parks Casino, Pennsylvania's #1 casino. Mick Abel, game 1, guys. An inning and 2/3, 2 hits, 5 runs, 5 walks, 3 strikeouts. Struck out the first 2 batters he faced. You're going, okay, here we go. And then it all kind of fell apart on him in the second inning. Walked 4 batters in the second inning. Walked 2 consecutive batters with the bases loaded. And then that was over there. It was the first time a Phillies starting pitcher had walked consecutive batters with the bases loaded, believe it or not, since Tyler Green in 1998.
My goodness.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I thought it'd be like, 7-8 years ago. But the last time a Phillies starting pitcher did it was last century. That's how long ago it was. So Abel is now 2-2 with a 5.04 ERA in 6 starts this season. But the troubling part, guys, is that he's got an 8.56 ERA in his last 4. He's really struggled. And what do you do now?
Well, that is that's the interesting question. It's not unusual for a young pitcher to struggle. There are, growing pains. There's a process to becoming a major league pitcher, a solid major league pitcher. He's got talent. He's had control issues in the minors, especially last year. And they reared their head again on Wednesday in game one. I mean, he could have been out of the second inning. He had the number 9 hitter 0-2. He lost him. He ended up walking him. Then he walks 2 with the base to load the bases, or walks 2 with the bases loaded, and has Manny Machado 0-2. Can't put him away. Machado bases clearing double. So he hurt himself with the walks, the inability to put hitters away, just the poor control. JT Realmuto after the game, said he was kind of all over the place. He couldn't control it in, out, up or down. So I don't think it's unusual for a young guy to have growing pains. I think we need to be patient with him. But is that patience best practiced at Triple-A or in the majors? And if you're leaning toward it's best practiced at Triple-A, it's because there's a replacement there in Andrew Painter. And they've been, we've been talking about Painter's arrival for 2 years. If he doesn't blow out his elbow, he might be here 2 years ago. Has the Tommy John surgery. They take a very methodical approach with him, bringing him back, building him up. And they point to July-ish, a loose time frame. Well, we are in the middle of July-ish. We are in July. Is it time? Well, recently they sort of tweaked their timetable on Painter, saying he would stay at least through the All-Star break, so they give him a rest. I just wonder if Mick Abel struggles. You don't want the kid to get buried. If maybe they flip out him and Painter and bring Painter before the All-Star break, like early next week in San Francisco, like the exact series you and I, Todd, were pointing to 3 months ago. So it's a tough call. What happens to Painter's Abel's confidence if you send him down? Maybe if you give him a little show of faith, stick with him Tuesday night in San Francisco. Maybe he says, my bosses actually believe in me, pitches better, it helps his development. Maybe you send him down because you think it's best for his development and bring Painter. Do you run the play that you wanted to run with Painter and keep him there through the All-Star break, or do you modify and get him here? And, the whole rotation is pitching so great, maybe you can be patient and run out Abel one more time. To me, it's a fascinating call. I asked Rob about it yesterday, and he said that, he believes that the plan is still to keep Painter in Triple-A through the All-Star break. Asked him if there's any flexibility in that. He said he didn't think so. But they're going to talk about it. It's a game of adjustments, and sometimes you have to adjust your plan with players. There's a lot to unpack there. Ruben, you've unpacked this stuff many times in your career. I remember your decisions on Aaron Nola, when to bring him. You were there with Ed Wade when you had to decide about when to bring Cole Hamels. It ain't easy. Tell us about how difficult that decision is, and in particular, what would you do in this case with Abel and Painter?
It is a difficult decision, but I think you got to think long term here. And I think there's two elements. One, Painter is not really dealing and dominating the way you'd like him to. I don't think he's quite sharp enough to bring him into a situation in the major leagues until he's sharp and right where he needs to be as far as his overall development, because you don't want to bring Painter when he's not quote unquote ready mentally and physically. And I would rather bring him and wait to bring him so that when he comes, he stays, that he's not going anywhere. And I think that's an important decision here. I also think there is some element of the way Rob Thompson sort of works is that he likes to leave guys with confidence and give them the confidence. I think that he may very well, and they may very well as an organization, give Abel another shot at this to try to right the ship a little bit and send him on his way. Maybe get him 4 or 5 innings in his next outing and get him out. Hopefully they're quality ones. And then get him out and in the hopes that he goes down with a positive attitude and something to lean on when he goes back down to Triple-A. So that's what I think that I would do if I was in this situation. I would allow him at least one more start on the road to see if he can sort of right the ship and bounce back from that, and allow Andrew Painter to get to the point where he is really pitching well, so that when he comes to the big leagues, he's confident in his stuff and his overall ability, and he's hitting on all cylinders. That's the decision I would certainly make in this situation. I know it's they're in an era right now where it's about winning baseball games, but in this situation, because of the quality of the other 4 starters, I really believe that this is the right thing to do. That's where I would go.
And
quickly on Painter, he pitches Thursday night. I agree. He has not lit it up in Triple-A. I have wondered aloud if he's a little bored there. It's inexcusable, but human nature. And so he pitches Thursday night. I wonder if this whole situation even changes a little bit if he absolutely lights it up Thursday night for Lehigh Valley. He would be on turn to pitch Tuesday. There is a lot here, Todd.
So Tuesday would be Abel's start. I guess he would probably start Tuesday. It's not it would not be the worst place for him to go and make that last start before the break. It's San Francisco, great pitcher's park. The Giants offense is not exactly letting up. I think they're bottom 10 in baseball in runs per game. So it would kind of set up nice to maybe be that confidence booster going into the break. But I do wonder, guys, they've been so careful with Painter, and they've been very clear on the plan is not to bring him up until after the break. We want him to rest for the break. He made the futures game NL roster, not going to pitch in the futures game. But I wonder if they've I assume they've communicated this plan to him, like, listen, we're going to shut you down in the break. If you come up, it's going to be after the break. I wonder if they just wanted him to stick to that plan. What would it do to him? Maybe if they all of a sudden they called him up today and they said, listen,
but he'd still get the break if he comes Tuesday.
True.
You can restructure. He'll get the break, and then you can pitch him 5th coming out of the break. He could get a nice lengthy rest. So, I don't know. Which way do you go?
Yeah, but in
I'm
terms
telling
of
you which way they're. I already told you which way they're going.
You think they're going? Okay. I don't disagree
I already
with you.
told you what to do. No, I listen. Honestly, I don't have any idea what they're going to do, but that's what I would do, and that's what I think that they will do.
And there's another factor here. This is the month they're going to have to make a trade to help that bullpen. Mick Abel could be a trade chip. I don't personally think a bad start really hurts his trade value. I think the baseball world knows what he is. He's a talented guy. He's going to need time. I think if he was out there dazzling, it might help his trade value, but I don't think his trade value gets overly diminished with a young pitcher having a bad start. But that's another factor in all this is the trade stuff.
Wouldn't you like him to go out on Tuesday in San Francisco and throw up 4 or 5 scoreless or 1 run and go, okay, that there is recency bias, right, Ruben? I mean, if you're scouting a guy, no, I mean,
there is, no question. It's about, it's a performance-based. I mean, it's a performance-based industry. It's as simple as that. And if the kid, and again, I'm really curious to see how he bounces back. And you find out a lot about a kid after some of the struggles. If he can get to the point where he can right the ship after a couple of tough outings. Now, it's not an excuse. He had 11 days off. He had a full warm-up on the road when he could not pitch here recently. And that's a totally different situation than he's ever been in before. Mm-hmm. And again, he's sitting there waiting around for 10 or 11 days. That's kind of tough. There's a lot of things that go through your mind as a rookie, especially when you're coming off a really terrible start against the Mets. And he's got that in his head. That's just human nature. It's not an excuse. It's just something that's different. He's never gone through it. Maybe he gets back on rotation this next time through and bounces back, and you find out a lot about the young man.
Yeah, the psychology of it all to me is fascinating. You send him out after a bad start. It's like, what's he thinking? His confidence is down. He's a little crestfallen. My people don't believe in me. You stick with him. Maybe you build it up and he bounces back. And then, you could also send him down and say, look, we're short in the bullpen. We think your stuff might play there. We want to start transitioning you there. Take a look at you. You're a starter long-term, but you might be able to help us here in 25 in the bullpen. It's just, I can only imagine those conversations must be very extensive on the executive level of Citizens Bank Park.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
So, hey, that's been First Pitch, presented exclusively by our partners at Parks Casino, Pennsylvania's #1 casino. ParksCasino.com. You must be 21 years old. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Phillies and Reds have a 3-game series this weekend at Citizens Bank Park. If you can't get down to the ballpark, come by Delco. Come by my neck of the woods, Delco. People say that Delco's a lot, and they're right. We have a lot of everything. Family fun, festivals, great restaurants and bars, gardens, history, trails, and outdoor activities. Take it from me, Delco Dad, and check it out for yourself. So we just did this last Saturday night, the Rose Tree Park Summer Festival in media. This Saturday is Tupelo Honey, Saturday, July 5th, featuring the music of Van Morrison. Sunday, July 6th, it's the Blackbird Society Orchestra. Plus, visit Delco.com for a complete listing of the county's amazing parades and fireworks displays to celebrate the 4th of July all weekend long. Find a full list of events at visitdelco.com. They say Delco's a lot, and they're right. Yeah, last Saturday we saw the cover band Class of 1984 at Rose Tree Park, and I always try to educate my kids on the music that I grew up with, and so they actually heard a couple of those songs. They heard "Sweet Dreams" by the Eurythmics, and they looked at me like, "I know this song." I'm like, "Yes, you do. Yes, you do."
Nice.
So, trying to educate them, little Prince.
Baby, keep the dream alive. Keep the
exactly
dream alive.
Right. I got my Prince mug here.
Nice.
Love and Purple Rain. They heard some Prince songs. Like, I know this song. Like, yes, you
One of my favorite all-time movies and artists.
Great. Yeah, great movie.
Purple Rain, baby.
Yeah. So fireworks this weekend as well. We'll be going to the Broomall Parade, a 4th of July parade on the 4th of July on Friday. So a lot of great stuff going on in Delco. So check it out. Brandon Marsh homered yesterday on Wednesday in the doubleheader against the Padres, and he's a little interesting figure as the trade deadline approaches. Now, remember where we were in mid-April. Brandon Marsh, I didn't realize it was this bad, but before he got hurt, he was batting .097 on April 16th. .097. 1 home run, 5 RBIs, a .387 OPS. He goes on the injured list, comes back on May 5th. Here's what Brandon Marsh is hitting since May 5th. .315, 10 doubles, 1 triple, 2 home runs, 15 RBIs, a .372 on base percentage, .826 OPS. That's an interesting development as we talk about the production in the outfield. What do they do in left? Do they find somebody to, is it Otto Kemp and Max Kepler in left field? Do they just go with Brandon Marsh in center field? Brandon Marsh, guys, is kind of making things a little bit more interesting in terms of how the front office views the trade deadline, and maybe kind of like the moving pieces into, how they maybe assemble this roster.
Yeah, I wonder if it's really changing their view of the trade deadline, though, because I still think bullpen is their priority, and they view outfield as something they'd like to address, but number 2 on their list of priorities, and maybe more of a marginal guy. And so I don't know. Maybe Ruben sees it differently.
I do not see it differently. I was the first person to say that at some point. I think we talked about it on the podcast in another couple of weeks and find out whether Marsh can really even do anything, because he was struggling, and he has picked it up, and he's he's always had ability. But you sort of have to perform. I mean, this is the major leagues for a team that's contending. You got to perform, and he started to perform, and he's done some things lately. Hit his 3rd home run last night. It's nice to see Kepler add to the mix a little bit too. And He's been hitting the ball well. He's been robbed a few times of some homers. It's starting to percolate a little bit. And I think that and as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline, that's why you sort of have to be patient in some ways to let these guys sort of get their act together. There's a whole half of a season left.
Yes.
80 freaking games. And so, there's a lot of damage that can be done and a lot of improvement that can be done. And hopefully that's what they get out of Kepler and Marsh. And I just feel like it's going to be all the way up until the trade deadline on July 31st or whatever it is. On that date that you're going to start seeing, that you're going to see some action. And honestly, yes, it'd be great to have another bat, but it's the bullpen that needs the real address. And the fact that Otto Kemp, his at bats have been really good, really good. Yeah. Are you going to get a better right-handed bat than Otto Kemp out there? The way he's approaching things, I don't know. Maybe you can, maybe with a little bit more power, perhaps. But this is a guy who has quality at bats. I've been impressed by the way he's gone about it. Hit a couple of balls on the screws yesterday, and his overall approach is strong. I like a lot of things that are going on in that, starting to go in a positive direction in that outfield.
You mentioned Otto Kemp. I'm very intrigued about seeing him in a platoon with Max Kepler in left field. You also mentioned the P word, patience. It used to be a thing in baseball. It's vanished because as a sporting society, fan base, media, even probably in some cases, some front offices, we view everything through an NFL prism. We go crazy over one game, 1 week, and that's just not the way baseball works. Sometimes it's about, giving a guy a run. Sometimes you have to exercise patience in this game. I mean, there is urgency, and but it has to be balanced with patience. And maybe Marsh is an example of that, because as you mentioned, Todd, those numbers are good. I was listening to his post-game interview last night on the radio with Scott Fransky, and it was really, I thought it was thoughtful. I thought he did a great job on the interview. He was very personable. He really opened up, and those are the type of interviews where fans can connect with you, and I think that's really important. But one thing he said was, when he went out on rehab to Lehigh Valley, it was almost like a rehab for everything, not just his body, not just a physical rehab. It was a mental rehab, like a spiritual rehab. It was a rehab for his soul. So what he's saying is it was kind of a reset, and he's come back and done a really good job since then.
I want to ask Ruben, since you coach base running, we asked, or Marsh was asked after game 2 about that base running play that almost ended game 1. And I'm not saying it was right or anything, but he did at least have a thought process here. And I don't know, Ruben, did you hear what he had to say?
Oh, I heard everything he said.
You hear what he said. So when it happened, I thought it was like, what is this guy doing? Is he just like, I'm going to just be aggressive? When he was asked about it after game 2, I thought he was going to say, honestly, I just got too aggressive. I wasn't thinking out there. He actually did have a thought process, I guess, which is, I'm not saying it was right or anything, but
he had 4 hours to think of it too.
Yeah, that's true.
That's correct.
But he said his answer was, I did not think my run mattered, or my run did not matter, and I assumed that they knew that my run did not matter. So when the ball was hit to left center field, I just assumed Merrill was going to throw the ball back into second base. I'm not saying it was right, but that was his explanation.
So he answered the question as to whether that decision was smart or not by saying that run did not matter, because his run didn't matter. And that's why you don't risk getting thrown out at third base in that situation.
Right.
That's as simple as that. Now, he may have been thinking that when he was in the outfield. It was not a good decision. I don't care what we can talk this to the high heavens.
They got lucky,
but it was a poor decision. He got lucky as hell. And those are the kinds of things that you cannot do if you want to win championships, because if you get thrown out there and you lose the game, that's the end of the World Series.
Then they didn't hold on Turner. They essentially give him second base. That was an equally dumb play. But
I don't really understand any of that. I don't understand it.
This Jackson Merrill, he brings middle of the infield athleticism to center field.
He's terrific. And he's having a bit of a struggle offensively lately. And I don't like the whole demeanor of that ball club. It looks like a losing team right now. They don't run down the line. They don't hustle. Yeah. It is a little bit of an embarrassment for me to watch it. And I was screaming at Tatis like a couple of times. Like, dude, at least get your ass down the line. And I know when he busted it the one time, he had a chance to get a base hit, which he did. But, man, you got to run down the line. I mean, give yourself a little bit of effort just in case something happens. People make mistakes. And there was a dive play that Trey Turner made, and he literally did not run down the line. I mean, you don't run down the line and you hit the ball to the pull side in particular as a right-hander, and you don't run down the line. I don't have time for that shit.
It really did jump out. And I'm not one of these guys that, you have to chase Utley it down the line every single time. I'm not one of those guys. I remember we had Jeff Francoeur on last summer. He's like, Chase Utley, I think, is the only guy I've ever seen bust his ass down the first base on literally every single time.
Every time.
So I'm not one of those guys. I see like conserving yourself a little bit every once in a while, but it really did jump out at me this week, the way the Padres almost, it seemed like, just didn't even kind of give like the not running full speed, but kind of running full speed effort. It was more just like, I grounded out. I'm not even
poor form. It's poor form.
Yeah, it is. It is. Phillies fans, whether you're hustling on the field or having a catch with your kids, staying mobile is everything. That's where Rothman Orthopedics comes in with expert care and top docs. They keep the Phillies and Philly moving. With 30 office and walk-in center locations across Greater Philadelphia and New Jersey, getting world-class orthopedic care has never been easier. From injury recovery to joint care, Rothman's got you covered, because at Rothman Orthopedics, your mobility is their mission. Schedule an appointment now at rothmanortho.com or scan the QR code right there on your screen and take care of that. Ruben, Phillies Reds this weekend. Your old friend Terry Francona coming in town. But if you can't get to the ballpark, you can go watch the game.
They got screens. They got everything. I mean, they got a total experience there at Parks Casino. It is my casino of choice. There's so much to do. Action, entertainment. There's headline entertainment. If you want to go see a show, for instance, at the Excite Center, it's the Comedian on July 12th. Comedian Mark Norman's going to be there. Comedian Joey Diaz is going to be there on the August 23rd. On September 6th, you got the reggae pop band UB40. And then you got the comedian Russell Peters on September 27th, all the way down the line. Listen, this is a place where you can have dinner, you can have drinks before the show, you can go to Liberty Bell Gastropub, Parks Grill Steakhouse, Bamboo Noodle House, or Chickies and Pete's. It's a total experience at Parks Casino. It's not just about the gambling. It's not about the slots. It's about everything. You got everything to do there. It's Parks Casino. And it's parkscasino.com to buy those tickets for all those shows. Parks Casino, this is how you win. You got to be 21. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Bryce Harper played game 1 on Wednesday, did not play game 2. And everybody's like, uh-oh, here we go. Now, this is what Rob Thompson said after the game. And no reason not to believe it, I guess. He said he talked with Bryce, felt fine, but he didn't want to get him hot and then cool him down and then heat him up again. So I wanted to mention that. Do you guys have any washes with you guys? Right? Well, I guess we'll find out.
It is what it is. I mean, he didn't want to have 10 at bats. It's as simple as that. I mean, I thought he might play both games just to try to get his timing right and stuff like that. But hey, I got no problem with it. They're trying to. It's a long-term process. They got to save him for a long. He's got to play all the way through November, hopefully, and so I got no problem with that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, how I talked about you got to have patience in this game, and you can't view everything through an NFL prism. I'm going to view it through an NFL prism. They won the game. I have no problem with it. If they lost, I might have a problem with it.
That a baby. That's the Philly way. That's the Philly way. I know you're, you come from Rhode Island, but that's a Philly thought process.
So if they would have lost game 2 and been swept, you would have been going, why aren't they playing Harper?
Yeah,
that's right.
I'm screaming about it.
That is so great. Sunday, the Philly, Sunday Major League Baseball is going to announce the All-Star reserves. And last night after game 2, Rob Thompson was asked about, how many all-stars do you think you could get in this rotation? And he's honestly, you could really have everybody. He's like, I know we're not going to have everybody, but he's like, you can make, I think Wheeler's a lock, right?
Wheeler's
Suárez.
a lock, and Suárez should be a lock, but you don't know. And I think Cristopher Sánchez and certainly, I mean, Jesús Luzardo, you sort of have to think that he's a possibility too. You take away 1 or 2 of those starts, and my goodness, his numbers are ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, and listen, this is one of the best teams in the National League. It's the second best record in the National League, right behind the Dodgers. They're in first place. I mean, they deserve to have more players than other teams. It's as simple as that. I think Trey Turner should be on the team. I think Schwarber should be on the team. And I think 4 starters have a chance to be on the team, and at least 3.
Right.
That's me.
Yeah, I think Turner for sure, Schwarber for sure. I think he should be on there. Now, Rafael Devers comes over from the Red. Yeah, so I don't know how many DH type guys they're going to take. Ohtani's going to make it. Devers, I think, will make it.
You think Devers will make it as a National Leaguer?
Well,
I don't think that's fair. I really don't.
Well, what's interesting though is when he got traded. So he was leading the AL vote at DH when he got traded, and then Major League Baseball immediately put him into the NL vote, and he moved into second place and bumped out Schwarber from being one of the 2 finalists. So that's the only reason why I say that Devers has a chance. But I don't think
Devers has been as effective as
he has struggled.
Schwarber's been better.
He has struggled since he got over to San Francisco.
Come on.
Devers, yeah. No, but I agree. Like Schwarber to me is on there. Wheeler, and then I don't think Luzardo is going to make it. I think you can make an argument for sure. And then Suárez, Sánchez, it'll be interesting to see. Like, do they go with Sánchez, who's got a bigger body of work? Suárez missed some time early, but man, Suárez has been unbelievable.
Suárez has been the best, and he was just like that in the very beginning of the season last year. It's not like he's pretty famous. It's not like he's not famous.
No doubt about that. Reds in town. 4th of July, 105 game on the 4th of July. So 105 game, no fireworks. They had fireworks the past couple nights. Andrew Abbott for the Reds. He's an all-star. He's 7-1, 1.79 ERA. Andrew Abbott.
Dealing.
My Lord. Against Jesús Luzardo, 7-4, 4.06 ERA, but he's pitched a lot better in his last 4 starts, ERA under 3. Saturday, 4.05 start. Nick Lodolo against Ranger Suárez. And then Sunday's series finale, Chase Burns against Zack Wheeler. So
that'll be interesting. Burns had a really struggle up at Fenway the other night, but obviously he's a big draft pick and a big prospect. You talk about it all the time. How does a guy bounce back? We'll see it from on the other team Sunday. Cincinnati,
good ball club. Play
well.
Tito's got him going.
Ellie De La Cruz will be fun to watch too. That's one of the more exciting players you can watch in Major League Baseball.
You mean Ellie De La Cruz?
Ellie, what did I say? Ellie De La Cruz.
I think he said O'Neill Cruz.
Ellie De La Cruz. Yeah,
but he's also exciting.
Yeah, they both hit the ball hard.
Not as exciting as Ellie for me.
Ellie.
I like Ellie a little bit more than I like O'Neill. I will tell you that.
I think a lot of people would.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would. So, guys, that was fun. We will be back next week.
Smell you later, boys.
Smell you, Jim.
The Philly Show is brought to you by the Foul Territory Network. Subscribe to The Philly Show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. If you like us, give us a review. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, and Threads. Find Ruben's analysis before, during, and after Phillies games on NBC Sports Philadelphia, on the Sports Radio 94 WIP Morning Show, and MLB Network. Find Jim at allphly.com. Find me at MLB.com, the Phillies Beat newsletter, and MLB Network.